Okay, well, I think that it is time to start. It is 6:02, almost 6:03. My name is Matthew Swinnerton. I am the founder of Event Santa Cruz and the programs director for Santa Cruz Works. And we're excited for this event tonight. Why Lookout? Why Santa Cruz? Why now happy hour? So again, we're excited to have everybody here. But if we look at that title, why Lookout? Why Santa Cruz? Why now? There's a lot of whys there, isn't it? So why are we having this event? Well, there's a lot of buzz about Lookout Santa Cruz. People are asking, what is it? Why did they choose Santa Cruz? And probably the question I hear the most is, when can I actually read some content? Well, all of these answers and all these questions, I guess you can say, are going to be answered tonight and many more. But if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A. So you see there's a little Q&A button over there, not the chat. Sometimes we get confused. A chat little area, that's if you want to talk amongst yourselves, have statements, whatever you want to do. But if you have a question for anyone on the panel today, please go to the Q&A. And at the end of the presentations, then we are going to, we'll ask some of those questions to our panelists. So again, encourage you to do that. Okay, so it's a happy hour, right? We're already talking about our drinks. I'm going fully local. We saw Chris is doing socks and sandals from Humble Sea. Like I said, you win, but this is also a pretty good one here. We got Venus Spirits. It is the gin gimlet, cucumber and basil. You can actually go to Venus Spirits and order these. It so reminds me of our events when we actually used to meet in person, where Venus Spirits would have our events. But anyway, let's start this. Oh, that's dripping a lot.
Good.
Okay.
Sound. That's like a commercial sound, Matthew.
It is. I should have put it even closer. Now, I'm not sure if I'm putting it in the actual correct vessel, but here's a mug. I'm not sure if that's really a cocktail thing. Santa Cruz Strong. You can actually get these at Fiber Bamboo down in Santa Cruz. Now, it's not a commercial, but they actually did this event, or not this event, this campaign to buy these mugs to support Community Foundation of Santa Cruz to help people that were affected by the fires. So I think they have like 10 more left if you want to go there. But anyway, cool mug. Hold on. Oh man, that's really good. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off with one of the people of the hour, Ken Doctor. Now, for 15 years, Ken Doctor has been the go-to expert in news business models. From his home his home office, I can say right here in Aptos, he's been able to share best practices of national news industry digital transformation. But what's up now? What has he been up to? Well, Lookout Local. Ken, how you doing?
I am doing good. I have two toasts here.
Okay. What are you drinking?
Toasts. Can you see them? SoCal Cider and SoCal Vineyards.
Nice. Okay, so we definitely want you to be not just having the bottles there, but actually drinking the bottles throughout the hour.
First,
you're set.
Toast to all of us who have made it this far this year, which I think is an important thing itself.
It's pretty amazing what you guys have already done already. Oh, Isa, I love your mug. Okay, so we have our title of the event is Why Lookout, Why Santa Cruz, Why Now? Ken, let's start off with Why Lookout.
So why Lookout? Why Lookout? With Lookout, we have started big. I happen to see Matthew on the Abbott Square Marketplace all the time, passing by. We are out there all the time talking to people. We are headquartered at the MA, and we have worked for 2 years to figure out how to bring Santa Cruz finally a news product that it deserves. I would point out that the news deserts that we talk about in the news industry, and perhaps some of you have seen these. Matthew, you've seen all the discussion about news deserts?
Yeah, I heard a little something about that yesterday in some article.
So with news deserts, many of us have looked at that and said, well, that looks like Santa Cruz. News deserts are places that don't quite have enough news. They may have news going on. We are lucky to have the Sentinel. We have Good Times. We have what Kara is doing with Santa Cruz Local and Sarah with Tech Beat. but we don't have comprehensive local news. We don't have a large news staff anymore that can cover the county from South County all the way to North County. And as we have started this up, we have talked to people who remember the old Sentinel, for instance. And some of the people on our Zoom today will remember that. I've heard that at some point the Sentinel newsroom has as many as 30. I've even heard the number 40 people in that newsroom. Now, to many people today, they find that hard to believe. We're happy to say that we have incented the Sentinel to step up. But in general, what's happened with daily newspapers, and I've seen this as you talked about my work as an analyst for 15 years, I have seen the concentration of journalists drop by about 60% across the entire country. And so why Lookout is an answer to that question. We have seen less and less daily journalism in the cities across the country, while institutions like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post have prospered. They have figured out digital models that really work for them. And so, in short, what we are doing in Santa Cruz, and all the faces you see arrayed across that screen who have come here really in the last 2 months to join us, either they came from other places in Santa Cruz or they came from Houston and Chicago and Columbia, South Carolina. The idea here is to prove out a new model, and a model that will work first here in Santa Cruz, which is my hometown, and then to work out in other places across the country. So the idea is to repopulate areas with more news. Less and less news has been happening. We want to bring more and more news to the fore. Now, if you look at, let me just add 5 things that really distinguish what makes Lookout different. In the abstract, we can tell you with good news that we are launching next week. There is a lot of work being done between now and then, as there has been up till now. But as we launch, there are really 5 factors that distinguish what is Lookout. So number 1, we are big. And you see a number of the people who work for us across the screen here. When we are fully staffed by the end of the year, we will have 15 full-time professionals in Santa Cruz County. And 10 of them will be in the newsroom, maybe even 11. There is no experiment of this kind across the country, and it really is an experiment that has that many people working to bring people local news and a business to support it. And so a lot of national eyes are on it for that reason. It is big. Number 2, it is digital and it's mobile. It's 2020. The New York Times is mainly a digital news source at this point and has 3 times more subscribers than it ever had. That's because it's master digital, and we are wholly digital. We're not print, and we're also mobile. And so we expect 75-80% of you who will access Lookout starting very soon will use it on your phone. Thirdly, we are topical, and a number of the people that you see and you'll hear from are correspondents. We believe in expertise. We want people who have a deep knowledge in arts and health and government and food and tech and business, so that they know what's going on and they connect the dots for you. That's the idea here. People you can trust who know stuff and who bring you nonpartisan news. Number 4, we are betting on the community to support it. It is basically reader revenue. We're going to ask you to become members, paying members, and sponsors. And number 5, we are community oriented, a very strong community betterment charter. So we're putting all of that into a stew, and that's what is cooking right now, and we'll be ready next week.
Great. So you heard it first, everybody that's listening. Next week is when it's launching. So you actually get to hear the content from Lookout Santa Cruz next week. Super exciting. So let's talk about that stew and who's making up that stew. Let's start off let's get right into it. Let's talk to Chris. Chris Fusco. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, very good, Matthew. Thanks for hosting this.
Oh, no, super excited. Now, for people that missed it, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Socks and Sandals Foggy India Pale Ale. So there you go.
That is definitely one of Humble Sea's most popular beers by far. And there's a not a story to it, but the owners wore socks and sandals while making some of the first batches quite often. So it's a very Ben Lomond, Boulder Creek kind of thing. So anyway, good beer there. Okay, so Chris, let me ask you the first question of the night. You've been in big city journalism in Chicago for 25 plus years. You've left that to come to a smaller market and work for a startup. What was it about Lookout that enticed you to like make that huge 2,000-mile jump or leap?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at what we're trying to do here at Lookout, it's just so incredibly important to the profession and sort of to the democracy too. And I don't want to overstate that, that the world revolves around a news operation in Santa Cruz County. But I was in Chicago in my role at the Sun-Times. I was a member of the Illinois Press Association board, and I watched a lot of very strong communities that needed local news just watch it go away and evaporate. And what we're doing here, if we do it right, it can really be instructive to the rest of the industry, and not just markets like Santa Cruz County, but also I think the regional papers that are really, really, really dying. So we've sort of lost that connectivity in this industry between the journalist and the reader. And I think a big part of our mission here is to bring that back. We're looking at a lot of different ways to connect with readers, connect with members, hopefully down the road, via chats with reporters, via events like this, via listening sessions with small groups. And that's something that in Chicago, given the fire hose of news that I had to maintain, we always talked about those things, but they often fell by the wayside. So I think this is the type of county where there's a great news fountain here. I mean, there's just the topography of it, the ethnicities that are represented, North County to South County, the issues with the unhoused, transportation. There's a lot of news to cover here, and we're going to try to cover it in a topical way, not necessarily a geographic way. We're not going to have a Watsonville reporter and a Scotts Valley reporter, and we're going to have beats, topical beats, education, environment. So it's going to be a different approach, and it's exciting to be on the ground floor of something. And I don't think anybody on staff will lie. The name Ken Doctor means something to journalists, locally and nationally. And I think we've all been reading Ken over the years, and we trust him. And we're firm believers in this mission and trying to do right by this community and hopefully other ones.
Great. Just to let you know, I just see, talking about Ken, Casey from the chamber, Ken, he just wanted to say hi and let you know that he's actually in the Q&A, just so you know that he's actually watching. Okay, so Chris, next question. What will make Lookout stand out from other news organizations in town?
Yeah, and I want to be respectful here because we know we're the new kids on the block, and we know that there have been organizations here that are decades old, and we respect their work. I think what we're looking to do is bring a depth and breadth that the hedge funds of the world have sort of sucked out of journalism, and we're going to look at things differently. When we talk about topical reporting, and Mallory's on this call, and I mean, it took me 4 years in management at the Sun-Times to get an environmental reporter in the door, and we did it through grant funding at the Sun-Times, and enter Lookout, and part of the beat structure that's on the board right away, before I even get here, before I even know what Lookout is an environmental reporter. And that says something. How important are environmental issues, not only in Santa Cruz County, but the country right now, right? And we have to look no further than the wildfires that really ravaged this place in late summer to see that. So, what we're doing is I feel like there's not really a lot, there's some revolutionary thinking in what we're doing, but there's a lot of back to the future too, and what really matters. And beats like environment, health, education, higher ed, we're kind of going back to the way of thinking about the news back when we were in our heyday and really engaging with readers. And what we're doing now is we're sort of applying what worked in the past to a new digital delivery model and combining that with reader engagement. So that's, in a nutshell, what I think is different. And, the proof's in the pudding. We're going to put ourselves out there, and either people are going to consume our journalism or they're not. And frankly, there's going to be lessons for the industry either way in whether it works.
Well, I have a feeling that it's going to work out. I think they're going to consume it. I mean, just look at this group of people. You're starting off on the right track for sure. Okay, well, thank you so much, Chris. Now to our next panelist. And again, if you have a question for any of them, please put it in the Q&A. We already have about 4 questions, and we'll ask those questions. We see Chris, Guy, Karen, got some great people already asking some questions. So we will ask those at the end of the panelist. Alex Sybil, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Alex, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Sybil, close.
Sybil, okay, close. I can't believe that's really embarrassing. I've known you forever. And just to let everybody know, I am going to be butchering names right and left tonight. So might as well get it out there.
That's fine.
So you're
We're friends.
Yes, we can do that. You're the director of community partnerships, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and more importantly, what are you drinking?
Ooh, so I am drinking raw, well, you can't really see it, but raw kombucha. From Synergy. My favorite's the Triology flavor. It's really good, and I got it from Zockley, so it's kind of local, I guess.
Yeah, no. Hey, you're drinking kombucha. You can't get any more Santa Cruz than that. You win there. Okay, so let me ask you the first question, Chris. You're well known around town, and you know the business community. You're very connected to UCSC and their community as well. Tell us about your job as the director of community partnerships. What exactly are you going to be doing?
That's a great question. Well, I feel just super fortunate. I feel like I have a really fun job that allows me to combine and create new partnerships between our local businesses and community, and to build upon the relationships I've developed in the last 5 years. I wear many hats. I am fueled by vanilla lattes and croissants from Cat and Cloud.
I've seen that proof of that.
You'll see me there in Abbott Square. Well, at a high level, I manage our marketing and civic partner programs. I also help lead strategy on potential marketing and nonprofit partners, how they align with our mission, and meeting with them about highlighting their stories. And as someone who has a business development background and a bit of an entrepreneurial streak, I love that our model will showcase our partners in a very tasteful way, and that we have a ton of creative freedom to customize their experience on how they want to tell their story. Another aspect of my role is to work directly with our civic partners to really augment their voice and mission on Lookout. One of the reasons I came to Lookout is because of our vision of how we will really use our platform to highlight the work of the nonprofits all throughout Santa Cruz County. And I'll sound like a bit of a nerd here, but it's kind of cool to be part of a startup and have the freedom to create and test processes and develop a new standard of how we manage our partners. And as we grow, I'm really, really excited to see and to help build not only here, but expand the program with Lookout into new markets.
Yeah, when I heard that you were joining it on, and especially in this position, I couldn't think of a better person. So congratulations.
That's really sweet.
Okay, so next question. Can you explain why business, civic, and school partnerships are so important to the Lookout model? And give us a couple of examples of initiatives you've been focusing on regarding the community, and go on that a little bit.
Well, our mission is to do high quality news and promote community betterment. And we're doing that in a few different ways. We're creating dozens of civic group pages for nonprofits in Santa Cruz County, from the Coastal Watershed to CASA, Jacob's Heart, and Digital Nest, just to name a few. These pages are going to be free and will help them promote their latest fundraisers, highlight staff and donors, showcase upcoming events, and even point to their own newsletters and social media. We're also working with a half dozen civic partners on a unique community fundraising initiative for 2021, and we will be revealing that next week. So stay tuned. Another big initiative that we're rolling out is providing free access to all Cabrillo College students when Lookout launches. And we're looking for ways to provide access to others in our community. And lastly, but not least, we've scheduled our first Lookout Listen sessions, and we think that's going to be really important because it'll include a combination of business leaders, civic leaders, and education leaders all throughout Santa Cruz County. I think these are pretty key for our team to not only listen and learn, but ultimately bring to light for our readers what's really going on in our community, and for Lookout to be instrumental in bringing in stakeholders to work on solutions together.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Alex. Okay, next on the, I was going to say the chopping, whatever. No, whatever. No, you're fine. Isa, I am so sorry, but we just talked. You clarified your last name, and it just went away. So, how do you pronounce your last name?
It is Cueto.
Cueto. Okay. And you say that so much better than I'll ever say that.
I've been practicing my whole life. It's okay.
Exactly. You've had some time. Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you, let's talk about actually a little bit of history. So you grew up in Miami and you've been working in Columbia, South Carolina. Do you see any similarities between Santa Cruz and the other places that you've worked?
Well, I mean, other than there are, of course, the universal desires of people in every place, right? Of like wanting a safe place to live where you can enjoy and you can afford to live there and have a family and have a sense of community. But I think Santa Cruz has actually reminded me a bit more of South Carolina than of Miami, in that there's a lot of people who've been here for a long time and are deeply entrenched in the community and have a lot of familiarity with other folks around here. And so there's that kind of interesting dynamic, although politically and ideologically, obviously, like polar opposites. But then there's also a lot of the big city issues here, like there are in Miami, in terms of like housing affordability and climate change and resilience and preparing for all of the huge infrastructure needs. And of course, homelessness is a huge issue in Miami as well. So it's a bit of a combination, but then Santa Cruz is also a place all its own, as everyone who lives here knows. So it's been fun to build out the Venn diagram in my mind, if you will.
How long have you actually been here in Santa Cruz?
I moved here about a month ago now. So
wow, fresh and new.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite place to eat so far? I threw that curveball there.
Oh man. I've been doing a lot of coffee shops, but Alex actually took me to Laylee,
you got it.
Laylee.
That's a good one.
And that was delicious. It was really nice. So I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Okay, so next question here. Your job title, as we mentioned, was Government Accountability Correspondent. What exactly are you covering and what will your approach be?
Well, I will be covering local government. So that, like Chris mentioned, it's not geographically constrained to one area, but kind of the various jurisdictions within the county. And what I will be covering is determined by what people care about and what the big issues are. So I mentioned a few of the big ones a moment ago with housing affordability and homelessness, and climate change resilience and financing, fiscal, the fiscal crises that we're in right now, and how you heal and recover from that. I think that'll be a huge topic of conversation for months and years to come. So I'm sure that'll take up a lot of my time. But I don't like to assume. So it's really what people care about and what people want to know about. My purpose is just to be a surrogate for our readers and to ask the questions that they want to know about and to connect the dots for them, because sometimes local government can be pretty inaccessible to the average person. So that's my main role. I can do whatever they want me to.
Exciting. Well, I want to know, and I didn't ask you first, what are you drinking tonight? I like your mug so far.
Thank you. Yeah, it used to have a handle on it and then it broke. But I'm drinking Chianti, I think. It's just like a Trader Joe's like $5 wine, but it's delicious. So
It can't go wrong with that.
yeah,
Great. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to your reporting.
thanks.
Okay, well, now we're going to introduce somebody that might be a new name to people, hasn't been around Santa Cruz that long, Wallace Bain. He, of course, is he's the arts and entertainment correspondent. How you doing, Wallace?
Hey, Matthew, how are you?
Good. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a wine called Saxby. It's a Zinfandel because I won't drink any effing Merlot. It's from Paso Robles, and it's delicious.
Nice. And I like that you cleaned up that word there on the Zoom. Okay, so I have a question for you. You're a fixture in Santa Cruz journalism, of course. You're doing great work at the Good Times. Lookout is a startup without a proven track record. Why would you give up a steady gig and take on a risk like this?
Extortion, mostly.
Ken, yeah,
Right, exactly. Well, you know, I was very comfortable at Good Times. Good Times was a great place to work. They gave me a lot of freedom. And you know, Ken Doctor first called me in mid-September, I guess, and left a message, "Hey, call me back." And I thought, okay, well, he probably wants some references from a resume he has on his desk. And I called him back, and he said, "Why don't you come work for me?" And I'm like, "What?" So. And at first I thought, no, that's probably not a good thing because I'm comfortable here. But the more I thought about it, the more I began to not trust comfort. You know, I'm at the age where if you start to get comfortable, then you lose something. And I wanted to still throw myself in situations where I could grow and be somebody else a little bit. So, and also, you know, I worked at the Sentinel for a long time. Next summer will be 30 years when I started. That's like 2 George Bushes ago, right? It was a long time ago. And so I got to watch firsthand this incredible shrinking that was happening of the newsroom at the Sentinel. And in the, you know, the last decade or so, when Alden came in, sold the building downtown, shuttled us all off to Scotts Valley, and began this sort of campaign of attrition in which the newsroom slowly evaporated. We had a couple of, I guess you would call them, false starts where there were local groups trying to buy the Sentinel. And I just remember me and several staffers at the Sentinel kind of talking in the parking lot sometimes about, wow, wouldn't it be great if this happened and that happened? Oh, and this is going to happen. And, you know, it was always Charlie Brown pulling the football away. It just never happened. And so when Lookout came along, this was exactly the situation that I was fantasizing about back in 2011, 2012 or so, bringing top flight journalism to bear on Santa Cruz. And I just couldn't say no to that. Yes, it was comfortable at Good Times. I was happy there, but I got to the point where there was just really no debate. I just had to step out on this plank with everybody else. So and I'm happy I did so.
Great. Okay, next question. Will your role at Lookout be, I guess, different than that of, you know, the Santa Cruz readers have come to know you for? And if so, like, how would that be?
I guess yes and no. We used to have these things in Santa Cruz called concerts and live events.
Don't
Google,
remind me.
you know, it was something that happened a long ago. There's a chance that we might have those again. And then I will be moving into more of what I've been doing in the past. But I really think my my role at Lookout is still kind of coming into shape, and I'm very excited about that, because Ken and Chris and the staff have really kind of let me be who I want to be here. And I think I'm going to be doing a lot of what I've been doing in the past, but maybe talking to different people than I was in the past. Talking to, I mean, you know, this community, you specifically know this community, how creative and entrepreneurial and just sort of make do and brilliant this community can be. And I don't have to tell you, Mr. Swinnerton, about that. You know that. So I'm going to be telling a lot of those stories. And I'm also going to be telling stories of how people are recovering from what has been a crazy year. I really believe that when the calendar turns over to January and we get a new president, for instance, if that ever happens, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are feel the lifting of a burden on them, that burden of 2020 of the and I think they're going to be thinking of different things, looking at different things, and I think they're going to be looking at their community a little bit more. And so I think the timing of what we're doing is really ideal also. And so I think my role is going to be to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, certainly to tell the stories. These are really fine, hard news reporters up and down the lineup here. I'm going to be the feature story guy, I think. So I'm going to be able to do a lot of those kinds of stories, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, I love your optimism. I can't wait for 2021. I don't know, it got me inspired there. And you have a great job. You get to write and hear the stories and tell the stories of our local, community. So thank you very much, Wallace. Okay, let's move on to our last panelist. We have Mallory Pickett, and she is the environmental correspondent. How you doing, Mallory?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Yes, nice to have you. So what are you drinking, Mallory?
Well, I'm drinking a beer, but it's a Deschutes IPA. I know it should really be local, but I can say I used to bring Humble Sea beer back home when I was living in LA.
Oh, really nice. What part of LA did you live in?
I was in Santa Monica and in the sort of closest to Santa Cruz part of LA I could find.
Santa. Yeah, no, I lived close to there. I lived in Pasadena, so it's
nice.
Close, 20 minutes away. And then I got rescued by my wife, and now I live here in Santa Cruz. Okay, so let me ask the first question. You grew up, of course, you actually grew up here in Santa Cruz, moved to LA. Do you view Santa Cruz any different from, basically coming back, and then of course you come back to this pandemic? How do you view Santa Cruz now?
Yeah, it's funny. I had been in LA. I left Santa Cruz about 10 years ago, and I've been sort of all over, but then I've been in LA for 4 years, and I wasn't sure I wanted to come back. I had this idea like, oh, I've gotten so used to the big city, and Santa Cruz is such a small town. And then coming back, first of all, I just immediately remembered how beautiful and special it is, but also, especially approaching it as a reporter, I've realized it's not such a small town. This is especially we're covering the county. This is a huge area with so much going on. And I'm just, I'm really excited to sort of rediscover it as an adult. I was 20 when I left, and as an adult, just discovering all the things you can do here and all the interesting people you can meet. And then as a reporter, just learning more about everything that's going on here.
Yeah, I would say Santa Cruz is a small, big town. And we got the great small feel, but there's like big town things to do. So it's the perfect combination and things going on. Okay, so let me ask the next question. Your job title is environmental correspondent. It sounds different than any other reporting position that Santa Cruz readers have seen, in my memory. Can you give us exactly what you'll be covering and the approach that you'll be taking?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think every local news outlet should have an environmental reporter position. I think especially now there's so many environmental issues that are really local and really hitting home, and they always have been. But, in Santa Cruz, it's like Chris mentioned, there's the fires and fires like we've never seen before. But even before that, really intense drought. And those big things to small things. Like I've been talking to some people and they're like, different things are growing in my garden at different times of year than they used to, So these big issues like climate change are affecting people on really local levels that they want to hear about. And then in terms of the approach and some of the issues I'm covering, it's really important to us that we're covering the whole county, and there's a huge agriculture industry in the southern part of the county that is, I think, going to be really interesting to look at from an environmental angle. There's so many issues of climate change that are affecting that area, from what's happening now with extreme heat really impacting farm workers, making it really hard for them to work, to things in the future where there's a lot of research showing that crops in California are going to need to move around. You won't be able to grow apples where you can grow them. And that's like a huge change that's happening now. And farmers in Santa Cruz County are having to think about that. So I think Santa Cruz is a very environmentally minded community, and there's so many obvious things to cover, all our beautiful green spaces and the ways they're being cared for. And then there's so much more to that. There's really big issues that are already affecting the way that.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. I know that you're going to get so many people interested in what you have to write about and are going to talk to you. So thank you very much. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your panelists. I mean, it's not it for the event, but that's it for our. I want to actually give a round of applause, and since only people that actually can be viewed is our panelists, to Tulsi Kamath, for handling the Zoom and working everything out. Thank you so much, Tulsi. Thank you very much. I couldn't have done this without you by far.
It's been so fun, and Matthew, you've been so great to work with. Your energy is awesome, by the way. We worked it out together. I would love if you were in our morning meeting every morning, because we're all kind of sleepy and we're still getting there, but you've got this great energy. It would wake us
I think you should invite him in, and he can just be like your virtual shot of espresso to get the entire team going at 8:30. I think that's a great idea. Matthew, we'll sign you up for tomorrow morning. Does that sound good? Yeah, I'll send you an invoice. Well, like a true business development professional. Well done.
Exactly.
He got us.
I'm doing no.
And Matthew, just really quickly, yes, on behalf of the Lookout team, thank you so much for introducing us to the community. This is really, it's a great, lovely step for the outsiders. Of course, people who are established and from here, like Wallace and Nick, they don't really need an introduction in Mallory, but we do. So we really, really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you very much. And it shows the interest that people are having. I'm looking at the participants, and we had 2 people that left, and one of them was my second screen. And so we're doing pretty good. It was that one person. When we find out who that person is, we'll talk about it. But overall, people are very interested in what you had to say. But we have questions. So we have 11 questions here. So let's get into it. And this is like a free for all. So if you want, make sure you're unmuted. Let's get into it. Let's see, Karen. Karen says, say more about funding. Ad revenue can be hard to get, and so are subscribers in general. Who wants to tackle that one?
I can start with it. So funding and fundraising was the primary part of it, which now seems in the rear view mirror, but it took the first half of all of this journey. And the intent was to raise enough money to hire all the people that you're seeing up there, plus a few more, at professional salaries, which was unusual for, as I said, a community of this size. That took about a year. It is largely philanthropic funding. Lookout is lookout.co. It is a for-profit but public benefit corporation. So we are mission directed in our very bylaws and corporation. Our purpose is to serve the news and information needs of all the communities that we may be in, eventually starting with Santa Cruz. Philanthropically, we got support from, I know some other people asked this in the Q&A, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Google, the Lenfest Institute in Philadelphia, and locally, both Roland Rebely, who has been instrumental, and the Meadow Fund. And so this has been incredible funding. It took a while to get together, but there are people who believe both in what Santa Cruz needs and what the country needs as a model. And so that's where we're starting. And on the business model end of it, it is basically the two things that have sustained really the press pretty much sometime after Gutenberg, which was a long time ago, I think, which is reader payment and advertising payment. Now, the reader payment in the digital age, the great news on that, and there are some other questions in the Q&A, they're great questions. The reader payment is very interesting. We're able, with our model, to charge people essentially a third of the price of traditional print and deliver 3 times the content and the product. That's what digital means. That in all our lives, as we look at Google and Facebook and what's happening largely on the other side of that hill, is the digital disruption has meant that you can eliminate a lot of costs, which, and I came out of the newspaper industry, meant presses and trucks and big buildings. And that's what we're doing on a very local basis. So we're expecting that people will see the value in the product and pay for memberships, and that we're already we'll have launch sponsors that you'll see next week, and great response to our advertising opportunities, which we're calling promoted content of such institutions as Santa Cruz County Bank being able to talk directly to the population. So in a nutshell, that's the funding and the business model. You muted yourself.
I muted myself. So Zoom 101 messed up on. I took a drink. I had to take it. No. Okay, so we got a question from Chris here. How will Lookout Local be collaborating with Good Times, Santa Cruz Local, SLV Post, and other local emerging newsrooms? Any thoughts on that?
So when you talk about collaboration, we won't be. We're a freestanding news organization. Now that said, if there's a great story that Good Times has, or a tidbit of news that the Post has, we're not above aggregating that and letting our readers know, hey, here's a good development that's been reported by one of the other media outlets in the county, and here's a link to their story. Our goal here, and we want to be clear about this, is that we are going to be the news organization of record for Santa Cruz County, and if that means having to chase or recover a story that another organization has, we're going to do it. And that's been my marching orders for more than a quarter century, competing with the Chicago Tribune, Chicago TV, and Daily Herald. So I'm no stranger to competition, but we're hoping we can dish it out more than we take it. But if we have to take it, we're going to respond accordingly and come back and give credit where credit's due, and then do our own reporting.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris.
Matthew, just let me quickly add, it's interesting. None of us remember a time, but in press history, if you go back a century to cities like San Francisco, they had 9 competing dailies. The history of journalism that we all grew up with was having one daily in a town and maybe now some other outlets. The idea of competition is that readers can choose from a variety of journalistic accounts. And that's the way the world should be, that people have a lot of journalism that's going on. We believe in more journalism, not less journalism. And I think that's where we're going with Lookout, and as Chris very well described, how we think of what others are doing in the community.
Great, thanks, Ken. Okay, so next question, it's from Sherry. She says, this is exciting, but why do you think this model will work in the Santa Cruz community?
Because it's Santa Cruz, but it's also, we think, I've talked about this model for, as I said, almost a couple of years now. And one of the early responses I had, and showed it to a very smart friend, and he said, I love this. And he said, I think it could work in Reno. And I said, Reno? And he said, yeah. He said, it's a pretty, purple reddish kind of place. It's not blue, dark blue Santa Cruz. But to the degree of community involvement and civic groups and the care that people have about their kids in schools, about what's happening in county government, it's the same. Now, our belief is that we have a county of 275,000 people. That's a lot of people. We don't need all of them to become members. Yes, we'd like you all to become members, but we need a number of them to become members. And then we have, as Alex described, a number of access programs. The truth is that if we're smart about this in terms of digital efficiency, that there are plenty of people in Santa Cruz County who can well afford the cost, the price of Lookout, who will support it. And we're already seeing, we'll launch our membership program next week. We're already seeing really good advertiser support through sponsorship, as I talked about earlier. So it's there, and we're paying real salaries. We're paying real salaries to people. We believe in professional salaries, but we think that the economy of even a county this small will support it. If we're right, we're totally focused on Santa Cruz, then we'll take it to other places.
Nice. Okay, next question from Matt. Will you have a focus as a community institution on economic recovery and healing? How will you execute that?
I think Chris can take that pretty well in terms of what we've been talking about in story sessions.
Yeah, and this is where I think too, this is something we talk about every morning in the news meetings. I think this is and Tulsi and Mark or Nick or Wallace, feel free to jump in, but we know that, and Wallace alluded to this in his comments, 2021 is going to be different. Obviously we all think we're going to have a new president. We all know we have to wait and see how the whole crazy, goofy process plays out in Washington. But we think there's going to be a new president, and this is a county that is it's just so different than any place I've ever lived. In that the diversity of community and just the way it's all so compact. In some ways, to me, it feels, while the population isn't anywhere near Cook County and in the Chicago area, the diversity of community, the way things are different, it almost feels bigger. Santa Cruz is much different than Watsonville, which is much different than Scotts Valley, which is much different than Ben Lomond, at the risk of pronouncing that the wrong way.
You did.
Amen.
That was fancy. That was a fancy way to say it.
It sounded French instead of Scottish.
But we know that the need to heal and to recover, whether it's from COVID or wildfires, that is universal. And Wallace is actually spearheading a project for us in which we're hopefully going to be putting a human face on that. And I just think that's obviously accountability is one of our pillars, but we know that people need healing in 2021, and recovery is a big part of it too. And if anybody on the staff wants to jump in, please do so, because I always talk too much.
He gave an invite. Who's going to bite? No. Okay, well covered. Let's go to our next question. And I'm sorry, I can't get over the Ben Lomond. I remember 10 years ago at the Scotts Valley Theater, that was a commercial, and they said, "In beautiful Ben Lomond."
Hey, Matthew, I actually want to jump. So I'm Jed. I just want to jump in on this last point that Chris made. I want to jump on it from a community perspective for a second, because Chris is right. And we're going to cover recovery and healing from a content perspective ambitiously and comprehensively. But I would also note, and Ken, I think you probably will want to amplify this point. When Ken first built this model, and Ken and I have worked on this idea for a long time, one of the big ideas at the heart of Lookout is that it helps to inform citizens like those in the audience, but it also helps them to become more participatory in their own communities to solve problems together. That's really one of the powers of local journalism done well. And we want to bring that to every piece of content that we do and every approach that we take with our journalism, but also with our community work. And so Alex and I, for instance, had a great conversation with Lori Butterworth and the team at Jacob's Heart yesterday afternoon. We've been having conversations like this all over the county for months, frankly. And she brought up this wonderful point about what if we could get civic leaders together with Lookout bringing together quality local news around what recovery and healing in a new year means. And you brought together that lens from a local news perspective and from a civic engagement perspective. And so I think we're really excited about being a part of those kind of discussions and hopefully creating a solutions-based form of journalism that enables the community to have that kind of dialogue with each other to really get in the mode of problem solving. I just wanted to add that because it is foundational to the essence of what we want to do with every piece of content we write.
Great for bringing that out. Thank you, Jed. So I want to actually, and I'm not going to put you on the spot yet, but Nick, I see you over on the side there. We haven't talked to you yet. I have a question. I want to find out about what you're doing, what you're doing with Lookout Local. But first, I'm going to ask another question, and then we're going to get back to you. So keep that in mind. From Elaine, I want to ask, what does Lookout hope to accomplish in its first year as far as readership, coverage, community partnerships, etc.? What's the first year look like or want to look like for you?
Matthew, are you asking that to Nick or are you asking?
No. I'm going to ask Nick later. I just want to get him prepared. So this is open to the panel. Sorry.
Well, that was nice of you. So, I mean, the first year is really an interesting year, and the backdrop is a truly incredible one. One would hope in the abstract to launch into an environment where readers have a wallet that is fat and say, oh yeah, we'll pay a little extra for a news source because that sounds like a good idea. And advertisers will say that seems like a really interesting way to reach new customers. But that's not what we're doing. There's extreme stress. We get that. From a coverage point of view, as several people have said, and Wallace and Chris have outlined it really well, it's unprecedented of anxiety about what 2021 is going to be. We know that we may have dodged a bullet in the election. Some of us feel that way, but there are many bullets coming, and we don't know what direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we plan to do. We're going to cover this community from north to south and south to north thoroughly. We're going to show what we can do. We are out there with Alex and Jed and me to a lesser extent, talking to a lot of businesses, to a lot of civic groups, and we will make our presence known in a way that we hope is seen by the community as a very positive one. We will offer membership. We hope that it will ramp fairly well as a business, and the same with advertising. But we're prepared for whatever happens, because 2021 is truly unprecedented. And we're in this for the long haul. We believe I got here in 1967, which is a long time ago, as a student at UCSC. And that formed who I was, who I became, and really who I became as a journalist, and later as an analyst, and everything we're now doing with Lookout. I believe in Santa Cruz. I believe that this is a unique place on earth. It's kind of paradise with problems, and that we can reflect, we can do the reporting that people say, oh, I didn't realize that before. And that when the magic vaccine comes and we actually have public forums and not just Zoom, although we're all learning to use Zoom well, that we can push. And you'll see what you will see. And there's several questions in the Q&A about the line between how much we're going to push and how much we're going to deal with advertisers. And I get all those questions. They're very smart questions. We are nonpartisan. We're not going to say on rail trail or many of the disputes in the county, this is the way to go. That's not what our reporting is about. Our reporting is to say, here's the big picture, here's the facts you need to know, and to push this community, which is very smart, to come to solutions on problems which have been lasting for a long time. So that's what 21 is like for us.
Great. Okay, there's so many great questions like Ken brought out that's in the Q&A from Chris, from Casey, Victor, Herb. I'm not sure we're gonna get all to them, but we'll get at least one more. But I want to go to Nick. Okay, Nick, here's a loaded question. What are you covering? What's your role at Lookout Santa Cruz? And what enticed you to get on board?
Ooh, that's a multifaceted question. And I almost thought I was going to get away without talking tonight. So I'm glad you got me at the last minute.
You were on screen. I had to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, my role is going to be primarily focused on higher education, and I've been reporting on that for the Sentinel for a few years on a lot of UCSE issues and Carrillo issues, but I was also reporting on county government and being pulled in kind of, 6-8 different directions. So we have a great partnership with a national nonprofit called Open Campus Media, and I'm working closely with them and trying to do a better job at pulling back and telling the story of how UCSE is affecting Santa Cruz and has affected Santa Cruz in so many ways. I mean, they're really these kind of two, almost entities that have evolved in tandem since the 60s, trying to do a better job at telling that story. And also what's going on at Cabrillo College, where I graduated from, which has a totally different role in this county. And I think also you're going to see me stay involved with a few other, facets of our reporting. I've taken a pretty broad view at reporting across all beats, and I'm going to keep helping out in those areas as well. And what brought me to Lookout is, it's a really tough question to answer because it's a really personal one to me, I think. And having grown up in this community, reading the Sentinel, having worked there, and seeing what it was and what it became, and still having friends that work there. I guess I would just say in short that I was reading Ken Doctor, his diagnosis for what has happened to local media. It rang extremely true to me. I was reading him quite closely, and I just really believe in the vision of what he's trying to do for this community. And I just wanted to be a part of it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nick. Oh my goodness, it's 6:58. Oh, 6:59. It's amazing how time goes by. I can't ask another question, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to actually capture all these questions, and we'll privately answer your questions back to you. And I think we'll be putting this video up somewhere with some of the questions, so that won't be private. So you'll get to see all the answers. Last statements. If there's a call to action, of course, we found the scoop. It's going to be next week is when we can first look at Lookout Santa Cruz. But right now, what should the audience be doing? How should we get involved and get ready for next week's launch? Anybody have some thoughts on that?
Alex and Jed are the best ones to answer that one.
I was thinking Jed and Alex.
I mean, I think I'll jump in.
I
think this point was made earlier by Alex. In fact, the most important thing that these faces on the screen right now can be doing is listening to this community and interacting with this community and hearing your voices and understanding what needs to be covered, what's been missed, how to cover it with greater context and analysis. So I would simply say, please reach out to us. Please reach out to our newsroom. Please reach out to our team. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know how we can be thinking about key issues differently and with greater context. And let us be thinking about how we can partner with different organizations in the community. To Ken's point earlier and to Alex's point earlier, when it comes to this community, we want to be the most partner-centric organization you've ever seen, with education, with Civic, with the business community, and more. And we're hard at work on delivering on that promise. And I would simply ask that you reach out to us, any of our first names at lookoutlocal.com. Do it. You'll get a person on the other end that will respond thoughtfully. And Ken has made this point to me that unfortunately, in sort of recent years, there hasn't always necessarily been a person on the other end of the phone when somebody has picked up the phone, whether that's literally or figuratively, to ask a question or to make a point or to volunteer a story idea or whatever it might be. Without having been privy to that and without talking about anybody else, I can assure you, when you pick up the phone or you send this team an email, you're going to get a response, you're going to get it quickly, and you're going to get it thoughtfully. So I hope everybody will take advantage of that.
Great,
also, I'm just going to jump in really quickly, and I'm going to say you can reach our entire newsroom at news@lookoutlocal.com. And then we're on all the social media platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us there prior to launch, after launch. And if you send us your emails, we can make sure that you're ready with all the information you need as soon as we launch and we're live.
Or you can go to Abbott Square and just scream "Lookout" at the top of your lungs. That'll work too.
Wallace, I was just gonna say, just wave. We'll be right there.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to Santa Cruz. We're super excited for what Lookout is going to do and how it's going to grow here in Santa Cruz. It can't do anything but make our community a better place. So thank you very much. I think that's it. The only last thing is I need to take a picture of all of you. So if you could all smile, I'm going to screenshot it. There, the magic of technology. Okay, you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.
See you, Matthew.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.